Hey you guys, thanks for joining us again. We're going to knock out a video here on how to do a short leg cast with a toe plate. There are, off the top of my head, 3, maybe 4 types of toe plates you can make out there in the actual clinic setting. We'll go through a couple of those and I'll kind of skirt the ones that aren't as common. There are 2 that we do almost all the time, and we'll go through that. The cast itself, we'll go through that super fast. We'll actually time lapse it, because if you follow the channel, you know that there's 60, 70 videos, and there's at least, I don't know, 10 or 20 that are short leg cast. So there's no reason at all to waste your time going through short leg casting. I'll zip through the short leg casting part, since you guys have seen lots of those, and then we get down to the specifics of the actual toe plate. We'll slow it down and we'll go through the details of the toe plate. To break it down, toe plate cast, short leg casts, are usually ordered by the provider when there is a foot fracture or a toe injury or toe fracture or a smashing type injury to the foot. Also too, when it's multiple digits, multiple phalanges, multiple toes, whatever you want to call it, fractures from a motor vehicle accident, a motorcycle, ATV, etc., etc. You'll have an MD ask you for a specific short leg cast, and they'll write in their orders with a toe plate. Somebody asked along the lines of requesting the toe plate video, somebody also asked if a toe plate cast can be made for weight bearing, and the answer is yes. There are lots of providers that when they order a toe plate, they order it specifically because they think that the patient is going to put their foot down on the ground. You still issue them a cast shoe, and preferably a cast shoe that would go past the toes. However, even with the cast shoe, if they order a toe plate, you're making a cast with a toe plate. So we're going to jump right into it. We're going to pause here while I get everything set up on the patient's leg, and we're going to get right into it. So the first thing that's different, you see that I'm doing the stockinette like we've always done it in all the other videos. The one thing that's different on the stockinette here, you're going to roll this stockinette up and you're going to save it. You want to have extra because you want to do stuff around the toes. So you want to have extra. You can always cut away what you don't need, but keep a little bit extra there and just roll it up and save it for later. And literally what you want to do is you want to roll it up like I just did, and you want to place it atop the toes. You probably already know where I'm going with this, but if you don't, you'll see it as I get into it, okay? So we're going to keep it like that. The best they can, try to keep them in this position. If you need to, you can grab a cast stand, and you can use a cast stand to help you, which we're going to get into that in a little while. So you can get a cast stand and work with that. But for right now, we're going to pause it right there. We're going to have the extra folded over, just like that, and then we're going to get into the time lapse. You're going to notice how I did the leg padding first. I did that on purpose for viewing reasons, because I want you to see the specifics of the foot as I get into this area here. So we'll do the 3 strips we always do for weight bearing. So that way, if for whatever reason they do start walking on this thing, they have that extra reinforced padding on the bottom. I'm going to go all the way to the ball of the foot with this one. And then I'm going to secure it. Now, here's where we get into the differences. You can you can wrap the cotton all the way past the toes, and wrap it all the way around just like we did everything else here, and just leave the tips of the toes showing right there. As long as the cotton, here's the toe right there, as long as the cotton goes past the toe, and of course inevitably the fiberglass or plaster would go past the toe as well, and you would fold the sock over. That's the first way to do a toe plate, which we'll demonstrate in a second. The second way is what I'm doing here. You wrap your cotton around this fold that you did. This actually, it's stockinette, but you're using it as a pad. You wrap it like this, at least 2 passes, at least. You can do 3 if you think you need it. And then, you ready for this? Here comes the trick. As you come around the second or third pass, whatever you determine, you start to figure 8 it right here. That's going to secure those 2 or 3 turns you just did. And you'll notice, those of you who have watched some of the earlier videos, what I just did here is very, very similar to the Munster cast. The way we come around the elbow on the Munster cast, very similar. Very, very similar. And then you take your pieces and you start wrapping strips underneath the bottom. Like so. I'll get another roll because this one just ran out. And you wrap strips across the bottom. Just like so. Leaving this exposed. Just like so. And you continue to do so until you wrap all the bottom up. And don't worry about this excess, because you know we can make that look nice and neat. And so what's happening is, take one more because I'm going to take the camera from the patient in a moment and I'm going to show you what the bottom looks like. And perfect. As we're coming around the bottom, I'm going to show you what the bottom of the toe plate looks like. Just like so, nice and well padded, and you'll see how it comes all the way up and over the front of the toes, almost like a total contact or a full contact cast. So as you can see now, we've completed all the padding. All that extra stockinette that we were salvaging, that we were using as our little bumper right there, we have now incorporated that, as you can see, through the cuts and the folds and the turnbacks here, and even a couple little strips of tape to hold it in place. You can see now how the superior, the dorsal side of the toes, the phalanges, whatever you want to call them, the digits, are now exposed to keep an eye on capillary refill, to check sensation, sensitivity. If for whatever reason there's pins or there's whatever in here, sutures or whatever the doctor or the surgeon wants to keep an eye on, while you have a nice protective padded bumper right here. Make sure that your cotton is not pushed up against the toes. You have a little gap right there. Same thing goes when you're rolling the fiberglass. When you go, of course, I've wet this and prepared it. As you go to roll it, do not put tension around the toes. Up a little, there you go. If you could flex your ankle for me. Thank you, sir. You come around, just like we did with the cotton, you come around a couple of times to start creating that nice, there we go, that nice toe plate there. And as you've come around 2 or 3 times, you start to crisscross. And you come around and you start making the cast, if I may. I'll grab that for you so they can see what I'm doing down here. If you don't mind, I'm going to spin around just for a second. I'm being careful because I have my gloves on. You can see how I brought it around and I'm capturing right there. And then as I go, I'm going to work my way down strip by strip. So I'll hand this back so you can see as I roll, you can see how I come around. Again, we're crisscrossing. If you have to, you can even give it a little fold if you want, so you can capture everything. Come across, give that another little fold there so it looks nice and neat. Capture, and then you start working your way down. Halfway down, every way, just like we've done all the other casts and all the other videos. You just start working your way down, and by this point in time, you're already into a short leg cast. So there's no new material here from this part up. If you wanted to end the video now, you already know the rest. But we'll go ahead and finish it up, and we'll time lapse it, and we'll save you a bunch of watching time, a bunch of viewing time. So as you can see, we've completed the short leg cast. I'm applying pressure on the bottom of the foot to get a nice right angle. Again, if you had a patient who was pushing against you and you wanted to use the cast stand, that might give you a little bit of relief on your back or your lower back, whatever. I'm using a chuck to keep him from staining my scrubs while this is setting up. And at the same time, I'm using my fingers to continue maintaining that little space between the tips of the toes and the actual cast. I'm flaring this up, and if I wanted to later, I could always get my scissors once it's all the way hard, and I could come in here and I could trim it back a little if I wanted, and kind of smooth it out if I wanted to with a file. It's your call, really. But again, this is a pretty standard toe plate with all 5 of the toes showing, just like so. Again, I'll keep pressure there, it's almost all the way hard. And then what we're gonna do is, this is the part 1, this is the first toe plate. We're going to do a part 2, and the part 2 is going to be the second version of the toe plate that you see very, very, I guess, commonly in the clinic setting. So this will end part 1, and if you want to join us for part 2, we're going to jump right into part 2. There's not going to be any pausing at all. We're going to end this video. I'm going to break this down. We're going to go to the other leg, and we're going to do the other version of the toe plate that you see most often. All right, we'll see you in a sec.